Most health and wellness applications share the same fatal trajectory. Millions download them on day 1, but by day 7, the user base collapses. The bridge breaks before the habit can cross. This high rate of churn is rarely a motivation problem. People who install these tools possess the initial intent to change their routines. The breakdown happens at the point of translation. Users have an abstract desire to connect or reflect, but they lack the specific contextual structure to execute that desire in the middle of a busy Tuesday. Researchers Gollwitzer and Sheeran identify the solution as implementation intentions, demonstrating that habits require high specificity, prescribing precisely when, where, and how a behavior occurs. But this rigidity triggers self-determination theory. Dicey and Ryan show that externally imposed tasks actively erode a user's intrinsic motivation. This creates a behavioral paradox. To lower cognitive load, an application must tell a user exactly what to do, but the act of telling them what to do risks violating their sense of autonomy. Resolving this tension is a precise UX engineering challenge, designing an interface that provides enough structure to be useful while leaving the user in control of the interaction. DunbarrioSolo addresses this problem through a 14-day onboarding module called Today's Gathering. This interface tracks a strict 2-week window, using a linear timeline to mark specific milestones. The literature on habit formation identifies this exact window as disproportionately load-bearing. This is the period that determines whether a practice takes root or fades. Unlike standard app tutorials that explain button functions, this module is an active practice space. It operates as a temporary behavioral scaffold. It supports the user while the habit is weak and is designed to fall away once the habit is established. Every prompt and interaction within this sequence is explicitly mapped to the academic research on implementation intentions and autonomy. By deconstructing this interface, we can see how it engineers high specificity while mathematically preserving user agency. Looking at the timeline nodes for notice, reach, and presence, the app breaks down onboarding into manageable daily segments. The UI avoids broad, high-friction commands like connect with someone today. Instead, each day presents 3 specific activities, mixing relational acts with self-care. This design choice executes the findings of Gollwitzer and Sheeran's 2006 meta-analysis. By prescribing the parameters of an action, the when, where, and how, the UI significantly strengthens follow-through. In digital design, this addresses cognitive cost. When a user faces a blank screen and vague goal, the cognitive cost of deciding what to do is often high enough to trigger abandonment. Providing 3 actionable, pre-framed options reduces this cost, making it easier for the user to engage. These offerings are framed by a brief thematic script, which sets an emotional arc and further reduces the effort required to start. By engineering the specificity of these choices, the UI reduces the initial friction of deciding what to do. However, high specificity carries a risk. If those 3 daily options feel mandatory, the user may feel a loss of autonomy. To counter this, the interface includes 2 permanent escape hatches, something of my own and dismiss for today. This ensures users with existing habits aren't forced into a rigid track, aligning with self-determination theory by honoring their need for self-directed choice. These opt-outs function as load-bearing mechanisms that neutralize the feeling of external imposition. This respect for autonomy also drives the structure of day 7 in the onboarding sequence. On the 7th day, the relational prompts are removed and replaced with a single self-care offering surrounded by deliberate visual whitespace. This deliberately models the idea that rest is an integrated part of a relational practice, not a failure to maintain it. By architecting the permission to opt out into the interface, the software ensures the user remains internally motivated. This philosophy leads the app to reject standard tactics like push notifications and punitive streak mechanics. The science behind this choice is the over-justification effect, first documented by researchers in 1973. Adding visible external rewards to an intrinsically motivating activity eventually erodes the user's original internal motivation to perform it. This interface reveals a counter-architecture, invisible progression. It explicitly rejects points and progress bars in favor of structural affordances. The system deliberately avoids displaying completion percentages or metrics like 3 of 8 unlocked. Instead, it uses silent in-app visual indicators, like a small blue star, that clear upon viewing without triggering external device alerts. Chevron navigation allows users to return to missed days without a streak reset penalty. Behavioral design in this context is untrackable but traceable, keeping the locus of control with the user rather than an algorithm. We have to address what happens when the 14-day window closes and the habit is expected to stand on its own. The user transitions into the core loop of writing and reflection, supported by the ledger's activity heat map. The graduation node marks the point where the initial structure path and the depth path converge. At this point, the user can choose between 5 reversible modes: repeating the sequence, shuffling activities, blending library offerings, using only my own mode, or turning prompts off entirely. Once the scaffolding has done its job, the UI systematically degrades to give the user full agency. This stands in contrast to engagement loops designed to keep users permanently dependent on app direction. The 14-day architecture solves for both sides of the paradox. It uses specificity as a temporary support, while ensuring the user retains agency through unpunished choices. The most effective behavioral UI is one that holds the cognitive load just long enough for intrinsic motivation to spark, and then systematically gets out of the user's way.